Hello, I'm Dr. Lipi and welcome to my show, Health, Humor, and Harmony. Today is Women's Health Wednesday, and I'm going to continue my discussion on the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, and specifically its impact on reproductive technologies. Today's show is inspired by a recent op-ed written by Drs. Vineet, Arora, and Arghavan, Salles, and titled, "Why the Fall of Roe Means You Might Not Be Able to Get Pregnant." In this article, the authors describe how the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade threatens our ability to access infertility treatments, even more so for female physicians like me. Let's start with the fact that infertility is far more common than most people think. The CDC reports about 1 in 5 heterosexual women aged 15 to 49 with no prior births are unable to get pregnant after 1 year of trying. The rates are worse among women doctors. As the authors note, about 1 in 4 female physicians is at risk of being involuntarily childless because of infertility. This large percentage of women may turn to fertility treatments known as assisted reproductive technologies, or ART, to start a family. Studies show that nearly 2% of babies born in the U.S. are a result of ART, and 1/3 of Americans have either used fertility treatments or know someone who has. The most effective form of ART is in vitro fertilization, or IVF. During IVF, mature eggs are collected or retrieved from ovaries and fertilized by sperm in a lab. Then the fertilized egg or eggs, i.e. embryo or embryos, are transferred to a woman's uterus. One full cycle of IVF takes about 3 weeks. The process of IVF, however, is imprecise, as Dr. Salles and Arora describe. During the harvesting procedure, as many eggs as possible are retrieved and then exposed to sperm to maximize the number of embryos. A major reason for this is that studies show that egg quality declines as women age, so not every embryo generated from IVF will develop into a viable fetus. It's a numbers game. The more embryos generated and implanted, the more likely you'll have a live birth. This is where details matter, because the success of IVF depends on access to abortion. To optimize the likelihood of a successful pregnancy, fertility doctors advise implanting the embryos of highest egg quality. Unfortunately, genetic abnormalities can still occur, leading to an embryo that stops growing inside the uterus. Such a potentially life-threatening scenario can only be treated with an abortion. In addition, embryos not used for implantation may be discarded. Both of these situations will be threatened with the current Roe v. Wade overrule by the U.S. Supreme Court. Of note, when asked if IVF should be criminalized, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett refused to answer during her confirmation hearing. A major concern is if states will move forward with banning IVF. This is a real possibility, as many states with new restrictive abortion laws define personhood as the moment of fertilization. Many doctors fear criminalization for discarding embryos or for caring for someone who experienced a miscarriage. If this were the case, then according to the CDC, 81,000 babies born in 2018 via reproductive technologies in the U.S. would have never been born. Of note, Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra states that the federal government is working to prevent criminal outcomes for IVF providers. Only time will tell. As a doctor and a woman, I am deeply saddened, concerned, and infuriated by the short-sighted decisions made by a few entitled people in privileged positions. Impairing a woman's ability to make deeply personal decisions about her own body is an egregious violation of human rights. These decisions are obviously impacting all people who give birth, including transgender and non-binary individuals. Infertility is clearly a health issue that potentially impacts 50% of the world's population. The reality is that we need far more funding into reproductive technologies to assist women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond to get pregnant. Instead, we are living in a dystopian world that is forcing birth on some while restricting it in others. We need to fight this and make things right. So, how can you get involved? Learn more about IVF and other reproductive technologies. Stay up to date on how your state is handling abortion access. If it's restrictive, then contact your local Congress member and tell them to protect abortion and fertility treatments, because it's the right thing to do. You can also donate to, volunteer with, and learn more from the Baby Quest Foundation, Hope for Fertility Foundation, and many more great organizations. And you can also protest against the Supreme Court's decision by attending a rally and donating to abortionfunds.org. And this November, vote out the savages who helped overturn Roe versus Wade. Well, that's all for today. Here's your joke of the day. Why shouldn't you write with a broken pencil? Because it's pointless. Tune in this Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, when I'll discuss Travis Barker's hospitalization for pancreatitis. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, write comments below, and follow me on Instagram at Health Humor Harmony Dr. Roy. Be well. I'll see you soon.